Imagine if there existed a knowledge so powerful that it could allow you to access the very mind of God. A knowledge reserved for the initiated, for those who have transcended the ordinary understanding of the world and have reached a level of wisdom that goes beyond the limits of time and space. Now think about this. What if this knowledge were hidden in plain sight, waiting to be discovered by those who are prepared to receive it? Today, we will dive into one of the most profound and closely guarded secrets of history, the law of degree 33. Understanding it will enable us to approach the very structure of reality and the hidden power that underlies the universe. This is not a common truth. It is not a superficial teaching. It is the key to unveiling the mysteries that have been fiercely protected by humanity's greatest esoteric tradition. And most importantly, at the end of this journey, I will reveal an essential aspect of this knowledge, something that has remained hidden for centuries and can radically change your perception of existence. To understand this mystery, we must first trace back to humanity's oldest traditions. From the Hermetic teachings of Egypt to the ancient initiatic schools of Greece, from Kabbalistic principles to the esoteric lodges of the Western world, there is a common thread that connects all these currents, and that, through knowledge and discipline, human beings can raise their consciousness to resonate with the mind of God. Degree 33 is not a random number. Its significance is present in multiple spiritual and philosophical traditions. It represents the pinnacle of knowledge, the point at which the human mind touches the divine. It is no coincidence that Jesus Christ lived for 33 years, that the human spine has 33 vertebrae, or that in various initiatic societies, degree 33 is the highest expression of spiritual mastery. But what does this number really mean? Beyond symbolism, it represents a state of consciousness. It is not just a level in an initiatic hierarchy, but the representation of a cosmic principle, a law that governs the evolution of the soul. When this law is understood and applied, the initiate reaches a state where their mind aligns with the mind of God, thus accessing a higher reality. To better understand this concept, we must start with a fundamental premise. The reality we perceive is just an illusion. What we call the material world is merely a manifestation of something deeper, a projection of a more subtle and elevated reality. As the ancient Hermetic teachings tell us, everything is mind, the universe is mental. This idea leads us to an astounding revelation. If the universe is mental, then everything we experience is a projection of our own consciousness. What we believe to be solid and tangible is ultimately a construct of the mind, but not just our individual mind. It's a universal mind, the mind of God. This is where the law of degree 33 comes into play. This law tells us that to access the mind of God, we must first transcend the illusion of ordinary reality. We need to elevate our vibrational frequency and expand our consciousness to a point where we can tune into the supreme intelligence that governs the universe. It is a path of spiritual ascension that has been traveled by mystics, sages, and teachers throughout history. But this path is not simple. It is not merely about acquiring information or repeating words. The true understanding of this law requires a profound shift in how we perceive the world and how we interact with reality. It is a process of internal transformation that demands discipline, will, and a genuine commitment to the evolution of the soul. Now then, how can we apply this law in our daily lives? What are the concrete steps to achieving this state of connection with the divine? Throughout this journey, we will explore the essential keys of this teaching and unravel the secrets that have been hidden in symbols, allegories, and initiatory rituals. And remember, the ultimate revelation will be the most important of all, the piece that unites the entire puzzle and can lead you to a new understanding of your own existence. To understand how we can apply the law of degree 33 in our lives, we first need to grasp its true meaning. This law is not just an abstract idea or a philosophical concept without practical application. It is a fundamental principle that, when understood and utilized correctly, can transform our awareness and our connection with the universe. The number 33 has been revered since ancient times. because it symbolizes the balance between the material world and the spiritual. It represents the bridge between the human and the divine, the point of connection where the individual's limited consciousness expands to unite with the supreme consciousness of the cosmos. However, this access is neither automatic nor immediate. It requires a process of mental, emotional, and spiritual purification. Ancient esoteric traditions taught that the path to enlightenment goes through three major stages. The first is the destruction of the illusions of the material world. This means detaching from the idea that reality is solely what we perceive with our senses. It means understanding that the visible world is merely a manifestation of a deeper and invisible reality. Once we have transcended the illusion of the material, we must learn to see reality from a higher perspective. We need to train our minds to perceive the hidden truth behind appearances and tune in to universal energies. Finally, the third stage is the integration with divine consciousness. Here is where the true awakening occurs. At this point, the initiate no longer perceives themselves as a being separate from the universe, but rather as an expression of the cosmic mind. This is the level at which the law of degree 33 becomes a living and real experience. But how is this achieved in practice? What tools can we use to walk this path of ascension? One of the most important keys to applying this law in our lives is deep meditation. Not just any type of meditation, but one that allows us to attune to the vibration of the universe. In many traditions, it is said that breathing is the gateway to higher consciousness. Controlling the breath, slowing down thoughts, and focusing the mind in a state of receptivity are essential steps to access higher levels of perception. Another fundamental tool is visualization. The ancient masters understood that reality is shaped by the mind. What we vividly imagine will eventually manifest in the physical world. That's why training in visualization is essential. We must learn to envision our connection with the mind of God, to feel it as an undeniable truth, until our consciousness is completely transformed. Moreover, knowledge is key. Not just any knowledge, but that which allows us to understand the structure of the universe and our relationship to it. This is why mystery schools have always emphasized the importance of studying sacred texts, hidden symbolism, and hermetic principles. But there is something even more powerful. There exists a principle that few know about, which is essential for activating the law of degree 33 in our lives. This principle is related to the vibration of our words and thoughts. Everything in the universe vibrates, and every word we utter carries a specific frequency. The words we use daily affect our reality in ways we can't even imagine. The initiated ones in ancient traditions understood that certain sacred words contained a special energy, capable of connecting the human mind with higher dimensions of existence. For centuries, mantras, prayers, and sacred chants have been used in many cultures to alter the state of consciousness. The sounds and vibrations we emit can either align us with the structure of the universe, or, conversely, take us away from it. This leads us to a striking conclusion. If we want to access the mind of God, we must take care of our words and thought. It's not just about what we say aloud, but also what we think internally. Every thought is a vibration that impacts our energy and our connection with the whole. However, there's an even deeper secret about this law, a knowledge that only the most advanced initiates have managed to grasp. And this secret will be revealed in the next stage of our journey. If everything in the universe is vibration, then the human mind acts as an antenna that constantly emits and receives frequencies. The thoughts, words, and emotions we generate determine the reality in which we live. The law of the 33rd degree teaches us that to access the mind of God, we must tune our vibration to the divine frequency. But how do we achieve this in a world filled with distractions, chaos, and misinformation? To answer this question, we need to examine the concept of resonance. In physics, resonance occurs when one object vibrates at the same frequency as another, amplifying its energy. This also happens on a spiritual level. When our mind and being vibrate in harmony with the universe, we become channels of higher consciousness. However, most people find themselves trapped in low frequencies, dominated by fear, anxiety, and material concern. Ancient sages understood that to elevate our frequency and align ourselves with the mind of God, a purification process is essential. This process doesn't only pertain to cleansing the body, but also transforming our thoughts and emotions. Every negative thought, every word of anger or despair distances us from the higher vibration. Conversely, every act of love, every thought of gratitude, and every word of wisdom brings us closer to a state of consciousness that allows us to access supreme knowledge. Yet, there is an even deeper element in this teaching. The law of the 33rd degree speaks not only of internal transformation, but also of sacrifice. In many esoteric traditions, the number 33 is linked to the supreme sacrifice. It is said that Jesus Christ lived for 33 years because his mission represented the total surrender of the ego in favor of divine consciousness. This sacrifice does not imply unnecessary suffering, but rather the surrender of the lower self so that the higher self can manifest. This is where many people fail on their spiritual path. Most seek power, enlightenment, or wisdom without being willing to relinquish the ties of the ego. But the law of the 33rd degree is clear. Only those who transcend their limited identity can achieve true enlightenment. This leads us to another crucial point: the symbolism of the 33-step ladder. In multiple traditions, spiritual ascension is represented as a ladder that must be climbed step by step. Each rung represents a stage of human development, a level of consciousness that must be understood and overcome before one can advance to the next. Some of these levels include the understanding that the material reality is merely an illusion, the elimination of fears and emotional ties that keep us in low vibrations, the integration of ancestral wisdom through study and meditation, the surrender of the ego, and the devotion to a higher consciousness. Those who manage to climb this ladder to its highest point reach a state of communion with the mind of God, a state in which duality disappears and only absolute truth remains. This is the level at which the great enlightened minds have operated throughout history. But what happens when we reach this state? How does it change our perception of reality? The answer is surprising. When a person fully synchronizes with the universal mind, they become a conscious creator of their own reality. The law of manifestation shifts from being a theoretical concept to a direct experience. The separation between thought and matter dissolves, and the individual realizes that everything in the universe is interconnected through the cosmic mind. However, there is one last secret about this teaching, a truth that has been hidden for centuries and that only the most advanced initiates have been able to understand. And this truth will be revealed in the final part of our journey. Throughout this journey, we have explored the fundamental principles of the 33rd degree law. We have understood that it is not just a number or a hierarchy within initiatic orders, but a secret key that allows us to access a higher state of consciousness. Now we have arrived at the culmination, the final mystery that has been guarded by sages and occultists for centuries. This truth is linked to the last great revelation, the activation of the divine mind within each of us. For centuries, esoteric knowledge has taught that the human being is not merely a passive observer of the universe, but an expression of the mind of God in itself. However, this potential lies dormant in most people. The final secret of the 33rd degree law is that the awakening of divine consciousness is not a gift, but a conquest. It is the result of an internal transformation process where we stop identifying with the limitations of our rational mind and merge with universal intelligence. This is not a metaphorical idea or a simple philosophy. It's a reality that can be experienced when we align our thoughts, emotions, and vibrations. Ancient traditions have provided us with many clues about this awakening. In alchemy, there is talk of the transmutation of lead into gold, which is nothing but a metaphor for the process of spiritual enlightenment. In Kabbalah, the ascent along the tree of life is mentioned, a journey that takes the initiate from ordinary perception to fusion with the divine mind. In Hermeticism, we find the idea that what is above is like what is below, meaning that the human being is a reflection of the cosmos, and that by understanding our own nature, we can access the secrets of the universe. But there's something more. something that has been hidden from the majority, even within initiatory schools. The ultimate key to activating the law of degree 33 in our lives lies in a very simple yet extremely powerful principle: the awareness of unity. From the moment we are born, we are conditioned to perceive ourselves as separate entities. We identify with our bodies, our thoughts, our emotions, and our personal stories. We believe we are isolated individuals in an external world, and thus we feel vulnerable, limited, and subject to the forces of destiny. However, those who have attained spiritual mastery have discovered that this perception is merely an illusion. The reality is that there is no separation between the individual and the universe. Everything we are, everything we experience, is part of one infinite consciousness. When we understand this deeply within our being, a radical change occurs. Our minds cease to operate from fear and lack and begin to vibrate at a frequency of fullness and power. We realize that there are no barriers between us and supreme knowledge, because we have always been a part of it. The mind of God is not outside of us. It is within us, waiting to be recognized. This is the true meaning of degree 33. It is not about an external rank, but about an internal state. It is not about receiving a title, but about awakening to the ultimate truth of existence. Now, the big question is, what will you do with this knowledge? It's not enough to understand these ideas on an intellectual level. For this law to activate in your life, you must experience it directly. This requires practice, discipline, and above all, a conscious decision to elevate your vibration and transcend the illusion of separation. Those who succeed in this not only transform their own lives, but become guides for others. They become beacons of light in a world engulfed in the darkness of materialism, and they become true alchemists capable of transforming fear into love, confusion into wisdom, and limitation into infinite power. Now that you know the secret, the choice is yours. You can choose to ignore it and continue living as you have, or you can take the first step toward true mastery. True transformation occurs when we apply what we have learned. And the final key of the law of degree 33 is this: the universe responds to the vibration we emit. When we vibrate in harmony with the mind of God, everything in our lives changes. Thank you for watching.